The sun is shining here in Philadelphia as we dive into day 2 of the Super Week. One match down, our second game upon us, and this one, it may not have all the playoff implications in the world, but what it does have is some emotional toll. We've got Laxing, we've got Foxey, I'm Jonas Willinger. This matchup here between SSG and OXG, Newers and Forest playing against their former teams. You guys have been in a position like this before on either side of it. What's this like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it means a lot for the teams involved because we always talk about it. When you make a roster change, a player goes on to a different team, there's some type of phenomenon where that player that joins the new team will always beat the previous team.
Speaking from experience?
Yeah, I am speaking from experience. When I dropped Lax and Vert, both of their new teams beat OXG, and now OXG finds himself in a situation where Newers has now joined SSG, but Forest is on OXG now. So you're in a situation where they're going to play each other.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty funny. That's a good shout. Anyways, back to what you were saying. Newers is going to play Oxygen. I'm sure Newers wants to get the win. Although I think it was Newers, he wanted to make that change to SSG, so maybe it's a little different. But as for Forest, I think Forest definitely wants to get the win over SSG, kind of showing, like, why did you do it?
Well, as we said, both of these teams locked in for playoffs, so they don't have to worry about that. More about getting those reps in and getting prepared for playoffs in just 1 week's time. But you talk about some success that this Oxygen roster have had yesterday. Felt like a major turning point, not just in terms of the standings Laxing, but the way we saw them play. Some serious innovation on the attacking side.
Absolutely. It's a breath of fresh air in terms of this brand new Oxygen that we're seeing. You're getting new air in the lungs because we talk about Oxygen in the beginning of the stage where it was very default. They were trying to find their footing, but then this game versus Wildcard where everything really came to fruition. We're really seeing their attacks be far more cohesive than we've seen it before. I mean, this attack in general, just using the Aurora to block off small bakery, rush the player in bake, take that control, force this pressure, force this map control, and then just solidify that round. And then going in even to the last round that got them the win over Wildcard. This was a beautiful rush, causing mass chaos for all of Wildcard to figure out what they needed to do. And what does Oxygen do? They realize, let's just fall back. Let's hit the reset button. But in Wildcard's mind, there's so much chaos. Comms are chaotic. You can tell just by Spiker just running around with his head cut off. But because of that and the mass hysteria that they're causing, they're then allowed to reset, understand the next win condition, which is to force the player out of bathroom, push back into bar, and then collapse on this player into the 1v3. And again, this is the new life that we're seeing out of Oxygen that we've been wanting to see, because again, it's been very lackluster, I'd say, throughout the stage. But if that's what we're going forward, especially into playoffs, they're looking damn good.
Yeah, no, that last round was so smart. Obviously, they take the site, they realize they can't plant, we need to relax, they drop, understand somebody's downstairs, go for a pinch, immediately get another advantage. They fall back to the site, take their time. And honestly, since they've gotten this team house, it's really been a helping hand for them because we talked about the coaches needing to really step in. Now you're in person, you can see their Kizzy behind. To be way more involved when the coaches are in person with you. They can fix an issue as soon as they see it. Everyone's able to talk about it immediately. I mean, so far, getting that team house may have just saved Oxygen, making it to playoffs, but we need to see the consistency into playoffs.
Absolutely.
Well, the team play and the synergy is clearly so much better the way we saw that game play out yesterday. But we also saw in the bottom right of our screen a moment ago, Yaga with 15 kills to his name. He has been performing better and better by the day.
If you're still invested in the Yag stonks, you're looking at higher and higher as it keeps on going. I mean, Yaga had such a pivotal performance yesterday. He was really stepping up. There was one play in particular where he snuck into Train and just laid prone there and then almost brought it back. It almost brought me back to when we were in Sweden and he had that pistol clutch that he ended up pulling off. He almost did it here. Yeah, in this round in particular, he pulls it off with a pistol, but unfortunately can't get the 4K. But again, Yaga has been performing. It does also bring me back to when we first picked him up back on Oxygen. He was just a nightmare. He was one of the best players in the league. And if he can keep up this performance alongside Oxygen, just playing as a unit and playing more cohesive, this is a scary Oxygen going into playoffs.
Well, it's a scary Oxygen, but the team they have to face today and will eventually in the playoffs is SSG. Similarly, have improved chemistry-wise. This roster is really coming together right now.
I mean, you'd like to think so, obviously. Since picking up Newers at Reload, we talked about how the team was accommodating for Newers. And then at the start of the stage, it was all about making Newers accommodate to the team. And we saw Reload, Ashen was struggling. Now he's been doing better. At the start of the season, Benja was struggling. Now he's been doing better. So all around, their entries have finally been able to find comfortability with assimilating Newers into their entry strategy. And now that front has looked so much better.
Well, you talk about Ashen, Newers, Benja, some of the newer players on this team. What about the vets? Have they made any sort of corrections, improvements that have also made this team get better as a whole?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can't talk about SSG without talking about the veterans, and I think a big player who obviously stepped up yesterday was J9O. He was so pivotal for their win, for keeping it close against M80. They did not win, but they kept it very close. And to see him also find comfortability in these new roles since picking up Newers, it really paints the picture of everything has a struggle at first, but SSG fix it and it gets better. And then there's always a new struggle in front of it. And I feel it's comfortable to say, after seeing the new light from SSG of them also playing passive against M80, that they're depthening their pool and essentially how to play the game. And now they're in a position where SSG classically finds themselves in, where they're plateauing. And this is the position where, can they break the ceiling and be a top team that is making those main stage events consistently? Or will they still get stuck on that plateau that SSG finds himself in and have to do the whole, well, you know, we struggled, we'll make another roster change and then we'll break the ceiling?
I can argue that they're already attempting to break that ceiling just in regards of adopting a new playstyle, of being a little more passive, which we did see in that last game against M80. Because what we've always known and always talked about with SSG is, yes, they are great on their aggression. They're one of the best with aggression, but at the same time, their aggression is also where they trip up over themselves. So the fact that they can adopt a new playstyle, they can now mesh players to get back into their comfort, find that comfort. I do really believe this is one of the best iterations that we are seeing out of SSG, and also in terms of just adapting and adopting a new playstyle.
Yeah, we're in a situation for SSG where, yes, this game is a little bit for drama, a little bit for respect, which team got the best pickup. But at the end of the day, I'm really looking forward to SSG's playoff performance, because it will be a pop-off SSG or SSG crumbling, just like, you know, we've seen SSGs in the past do.
Well, take a look at this. We're going all the way to Chalet. Surprisingly, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Laxing, I think this is a map we have not seen from SSG so far this stage. I think they've only played 3 maps. Going into playoffs, would you show a new map?
I actually don't mind that. I think for both of these teams, I think you're either looking at old maps to possibly go back to, right your wrongs, see if you can maybe pull out a best 3, or you pull out something just brand new. Maybe tease it a little bit. Should not show off anything too intricate, but you allow yourself to just test the waters before you get into a best 3, where you can really know if you want to show that, if you really also want to give a false pretense for a team to be like, let's not bring them to this. So it kind of goes in your way of both bands. So both these teams playing Chalet, showing something a little different. I actually do enjoy that. I think there's a lot that you can get from it and that you can apply into a best of 3, and then a lot you can also take away from and just avoid going into a best of 3.
I know what to expect from Chalet for SSG. Obviously, hyper-aggressive map, hyper-aggressive team. It makes a lot of sense. I'm really interested to see what OXG brings to the table, especially incorporating Forest, being able to play the Blitz, being able to play those shields on a map like Chalet. And we haven't necessarily seen OXG play too many aggressive maps when it comes to being comfortable in aggressive play. That's also something OXG has not necessarily shown in. They are a little bit more of like a hybrid of team. When you look for entries on the team, there's not necessarily one player that's standing out as that headhunter on OXG.
Well, I know where your heart in both cases here may truly lie as far as predictions go. What is your brain telling you? Who's going to win this game?
You know what? I think I am going to switch my prediction. I am going to switch to Oxygen just to go against the grain here. I do think, again, when it goes back to righting your wrongs, I think Oxygen wants to reattempt Chalet, fix their mistakes prior, because one of their biggest mistakes in their previous Chalet was Forrest was dying first on that entry on those shields. And I do believe if they can just fix those mistakes, we can see a lot cleaner rounds, at least on the attacking side.
You're going to go against the grain?
I am going to go.
Well, maybe we shouldn't put all of our eggs in one basket, maybe circle back. You know, the business jargon.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with that.
I was like, where's he going?
I'm gonna go with SSG.
All right, sticking with it, going SSG, OXG. We're split here on the desk. We'll see what our casters think. Intero and Jesse, it's all you.
Well, 2 very long tenured teams here in the North America League right now sitting dead smack in the middle of NAL. Some would even say the meat of the NAL sandwich. What would you say about that, Jesse?
Wow, real curveball question to start things off here, Parker.
What do you think about
would
the
say,
meat of Space Station and OXG, Jesse?
I would say that we're in for a really interesting game because not only, as the desk said, is this not a game that matters too much for playoffs, more so for deciding who maybe had the better swap, but it's also a preview of what is likely to be the first round playoff matchup, with these two teams are likely to finish 4th and 5th seed in some order. Not locked in, we could see some different matchups, but there's a high probability these two will be facing off in a best of 3 in the very first round of playoffs. So it's always kind of an interesting dynamic in those situations where how much do you give away? How much are you trying to show off to the enemy team? That's going to kind of be the big question. And we go here to a map like Chalet, which Auction's played once so far this stage. SSG have a long history on it, even though they haven't played it so much historically. Nothing crazy with the bans. I say that Bravo's maybe a bit of a weird ban coming out, but we have seen it before here on Chalet. Both Blackbird and Azami have been perma-banned on Chalet through the North America League so far, so not surprised to see them gone. And then Azami and Castle, really two operators that can do much of the same job. So to take both of them out is going to really make those windows dangerous for SSG.
Said earlier when we were looking at Skyscraper in our very first match of the day, Jesse, that there were 3 maps that were well below all the others in terms of play rates. And that was Skyscraper, then Nighthaven Labs, then Chalet. Well, because we saw Skyscraper earlier and it went a decent distance, still wasn't enough, by the way, to tilt it away from being defender favored based on what we saw. So still a defender sided map. Chalet is now the 2nd least played map in the map pool. Just 9 rounds won by attacking teams, 13 by defending teams. So a very small sample size here. Typically this map has been friendlier to attackers than a great deal of maps in the map pool. But as it stands right now, we are looking at, with the exception of Cafe, and I guess the 30 rounds played a border, we are looking at defender-sided maps all across the board. So the expectation should be whenever we load in, defenders will do well. That means for Space Station, they start on that favorable side. Look for them to rack up rounds quickly. If they cannot get 2 to 3 rounds on the board in the first 3 to 4 rounds, and things will be going in the wrong direction for them. Oxygen will start with their hands full on the discovery phase, and Gomez has already taken some damage.
It was an interesting start from Newers deciding to play over by games at the start of the round. He's still kind of around the kind of blue stairs area of the map, not really being contested early by OXG, so nothing to worry about too much, but keep an eye on it later on. A little bit of a run out too from Ashen, who always is eager to start things off quickly on the defense for SSG, but not forward enough on the side of Oxygen to really fall for that. So this is going to be a pretty slow push up as the Monty starts to make his way up Solar Stairs, but Ben just got a nasty surprise for him.
Yeah, if he goes undroned and unspotted, which seems to be the case for the moment. And there we go. Benja pops up, gets not just the shield, but also the repel. And a Nitro Cell goes out looking for Gomez, but he evades it for the time being. An excellent start for Space Station.
Tough to lose that, especially when you've got the Deimos below, who could have done so much damage if you got that drone. Here's another fight for Benja, a triple kill to start things off. He's hunting for the ace, Parker. You know that he wants it. Last 2 remaining attackers are both outside, and one of them is on this trophy window.
It'd be great to see the Dane bounce back, as he'd had some struggles on his teams. He's right now the lowest rated player on Space Station. He's just outside of the top 15, or he might actually be 15th lowest rated, but still numbers quite underwater, and doing it on roles where we expect more killing from him. Where this flex position is now the 2 remaining players from OXG, Gomez and Grixer, look down the stairs and now towards lobby, but they're not really finding anything. SSG has shown in times past that they can be very patient when in such an advantageous position.
Ben just run up to Mezzanine. He might still complete this ace in a very aggressive position over towards Gomez. Does find the 4th. The last one's pretty far though, Parker.
And Newers will get it. A flawless round. No ace to be had for Benja Master. A North American will collect the final kill on Space Station. Blasting off flawlessly. Not a single kill on the side of OXG to start things off.
Yeah, nice to see Benja stepping up for a big round. As you said, obviously hasn't been the greatest of start for him to the 2025 season. This is actually his worst stage since coming to North America. And I think part of that is due to the role changes that have happened on SSG. He used to be part of that entry duo alongside of Ashen. Now Nours has kind of taken that role. We talked about how to reload. Ashen kind of had to take a bit of a backseat. This stage has been Benja, who's not maybe taking a backseat, but is in a bit more of like a flex position, right? He's kind of playing that lurker flex role for Space Station. So it makes sense maybe if he's not having quite as much of the star fragging power that we've seen from him in the past, but still good to see that he does have it when he needs to, and so can step up big for a little rat play to start things off. You might want to criticize Oxygen and say, well, that probably should have gone droned out, and again, with the Damos below, could have been a free pick, but end of the day, sometimes those mistakes do just get cut off. And when you've got a Monty, sometimes like that's what you do, right? You're bringing the Monty so you can skip steps on droning, so you can speed your push up. But Monty, the Forest, just couldn't quite see it.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
That's a real tough entry for the Monty, and you have to imagine that the entire execute fell apart because of Benja going undroned in that particular position. And sometimes you have all the strategy in the world, and then you just run into a brick wall. And in this particular instance, that brick wall was assembled by Lego bricks, one of the greatest exports of Denmark.
Well, this time around, Benj is going to be playing up on the Aruni inside the defense, playing Library at the moment, quite extended over towards the top of the floor with Nours and kind of a duo roam up above the site. Ashen over by Piano as well, so they're extending quite far through this top floor. With the Surrey Gate, it's going to be quite difficult to get Benja out of the top floor position. They will start burning that now. Grixer playing on the striker is going to make it a lot easier with the nades and the flashes. He can do a lot of solo work to clear out this position.
There goes Benja. So he won't have the same impact on this round that he had back in round number 1. Gomez leading things off, and down goes those Surya Gates. Now out will go the nade, as Gomez still holding position right now outside on that balcony. It's a bit of a reposition now from Space Station as they've lost one of their players. Not uncommon for a team to lose a defender and then scramble to plug those holes. Gomez gets dropped. He has an adrenal surge in pocket, but he couldn't use it in time. Fultz dies as well at the hands of Adam. Now a swing across as Ashen and Forest will trade perfectly, but these numbers benefiting the attackers, at least for the moment. Next one up is Nours, who takes the head off of Adam. J90 will slaughter Grixer, who's down for the count, and Yaga on a single point of HP, holding on to that case with no utility whatsoever. Will have to go for the revive on Grixer. Both of these players sitting at about 20 HP. Nours not a single point of damage, and he's yet to die. Same with J90, but J90's worse for wear. Still searching for his first kill. Upstairs controlled from OXG with about a minute to go, Jesse.
Watch out for that Nitro in the pocket of J90. With these last two players so low on HP, it could be really problematic. Just a tickle from that Nitro could kill both Yaga and Grixer in one fell swoop.
They're going fishing right now. Yaga's been dropped. I'm curious from what as Nours finds his third kill, 4th so far of the match. And Grixer will be upstairs going fishing. You know, they say, Jesse, that a bad day's fishing is better than a good day in the office. I don't know if Grixer will feel the same, but he's got all the patience that you see from anglers who are hoping for the big one, and that's exactly what OXG is going to need. Grixer will need to land the big one as 2 players still remain from Space Station. Nours will pick up his quad kill, 2 rounds in a row now. 1 by Space Station, and both won by quad kills. Round 1, it was Benja to get 4 kills. Nours the very final frag. This time, Nours with a quad kill of his own, and the final kill to end the round. Space Station in excellent shape through 2.
I don't know if it's really a fishing metaphor, but the bear trap from Nours got that pick onto Yaga as he walked down the fireplace stairs. So it ended up being a 4K overall from Nours on the Frost. Beautifully done by him. I love the way we didn't quite catch it on the primary observer feed, but he pushed down through fireplace with Faults beside him so that they could get kills onto those players inside a mezzanine. They pushed up together so they could find some of those early picks because the early round didn't go super well for Oxygen. They started bleeding a couple bodies. Gomez ended up going down early. SSG as well lost a couple of bodies early, and then moving into that kind of later part of the map where they were pushing through fireplace was really smart.
Reloading! I'm on guard. 10 seconds left before insertion.
Look on the side of OXG when it comes to kills, by the way. Only 3 kills through 2 rounds, which is really not exceptionally good. Again, Chalet does not have a ton of play, so it is hard for us to judge where it stands in the current meta. Safe to say that this is a friendlier map for the attackers, just based on previous numbers. We'll wait to see if those numbers change at all. Ashen going for full Skinergy with the Uzi charm and the Plasma Pink. Uzi right now climbing his way up the Twitch standings. One of the most subscribed to Twitch streamers in the world at the moment. And if you have that pink gun on your gun, a little Uzi charm, well, congratulations, you are in good company.
J9O with the opener finds Adam, makes Ashen maybe a little bit less interested in getting aggressive to find a pick. They've already got that opener, which is maybe a bit of a boon for SSG now. OXG's early round continues to struggle in this matchup, losing out on the Dokkaebi, but they've got a pocket strat, Parker. It's going to be a smoke grenade through the drone hole, and then Yaga, he's holding the drone hole at the moment. I expect he's going to jump in. Here it comes.
J9O is prepped and ready for this. Benjamaster on the Warden will be uniquely positioned to deal with this smoke, as Yaga can see through the smoke too, but right now coming out empty-handed. J9O taking some damage, but everybody's still very much alive. This push that went out didn't net much for either player, except for Yaga, who's on the ground. J9O, no awareness whatsoever, and Yaga is still in a very terrifying spot for SSG.
Not how the textbook says to do it, but that's how the glass play works, I guess. Does get traded 1 for 1, not looking the right place. Benja in an awkward spot, though. He is pinned down from the window. With the drone hole, too, they see his feet. Gets out, though. All the way back to kitchen. Now it's really awkward. Gomez is going to try to swing in, but hits an Elamine, too. Doesn't know where players are at. There's one in bathroom, but can he find it, Parker?
Jeez Louise, this is a very slow-moving execute as Gomez finds Newers. He's very limited on HP. He'll follow up and take care of Ashen. Over top of the bomb site right now. A very quick execute will need to come out. 40 seconds left. Grixer and Gomez now on a single point of HP. Fultz from above as Gomez takes care of him. Forrest with Diffuser as he and Gomez will link up. Benjamaster sitting inside the bomb site, trying to flush him out. I don't think they have full info on him. They will drone him. You know exactly where to go, and Gomez is lined up right now, finding the shot. Benja takes care of Forrest right as Gomez gets the final kill. If Gomez is even a second slower, I fear what that round does for OXG. But they're on the board, Jesse, and they prevent SSG from going on a 3-round sweep.
Beautiful round from the Brazilian. Gomez, when he swings into Solar, he knows to look towards bathroom where he finds the first player, and then that flashbang perfectly thrown so that he can then walk in with the pistol to get that second frag, then using information from his teammates, gathering those picks from up above. Big round, gets Oxygen into the game, something that they desperately needed. It was another kind of weird pocket strat kind of round from OXG, and it didn't find what they wanted it to. You know, that play with the glass opening trophy should have gone a lot better, even though y'all did get 1 for his troubles. But Gomez bailing them out, just a sliver of HP, but it didn't seem to matter as he hit every head that was presented to him.
Again, just as we said with the comeback that could have been in the previous matchup. Even if you are a single point of HP, Jesse, you still hold a gun. You can still be just 5 bullets away from winning the round. 1 bullet per head, and that is it. And Gomez obviously showing that while he was effectively with 1 foot in the grave, still at the other foot stomping down those SSG players as he found them. And what a reprieve it is for OXG here, and they can take a bit of a pause and just sigh. As not only do they win that round, but then you go into the operator ban phase, and you have a little bit more time just to talk to each other and try to right the ship. I don't even know if right the ship, though, is the right terminology here, because we are on track for the exact scoreline that we expect on Chalet, which is SSG taking 4 of the 6 rounds as defenders and OXG taking 2. We'll see if that trend line holds.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think Oxygen will be super happy with only 2 attacks. They're definitely looking for 3 at this point, but regardless, they're still not too far off from that either. Bit of an interesting operator ban from SSG. Oxygen haven't played a single blitz all game long, but they still feel the need to remove it. Gomez at the same time is trying to make an entry over towards office, but was clearly spotted by J9O. He takes about 80% damage and then backs off for his troubles. The clash was only brought by SSG once in the first quarter, and that was by fault on this very bomb site. So he'll swap over to the Warden instead. But it's a very different hold in general from SSG, so it's not exactly going to be them trying to replicate the same strategy, even if that clash was left unbanned.
Oh, what a blow from Fultz. Forrest and Yaga get destroyed on rappel. Fultz tosses out that nitro cell, and what great value do you have there? Case also surrendered. Adam will have to retrieve it as now down goes Gomez. He was the player that they tried so desperately to ice in the previous round, could not do it. This time, make no mistake about it, they will succeed. And with that, SSG has next to nothing working against them. Grixer takes down Newers. It's Grixer's very first kill, and down goes Ashen as well. And just sees the Lion outside as Adam manages to get away. He's holding that case, and now he and Grixer both have a kill in this round, but while they've been able to get these picks from outside, Jesse, now the harder challenge is to get closer to the bomb site. If they want to pull off an execute, that means Adam will be vulnerable for 7 seconds, as about 20 HP that remains in Grixer will be all that they can count on. Not even that, though, as Benja guns him down, and now it's Adam in a 1v3. He's in the building, so the hard job, I guess, is done, but spotted by a camera, and they know exactly where he's coming from.
Loads to do. I mean, full information, full pings, though.
He'll play this one out. SSG's given him next to nothing. Fultz will swing when given the all clear as J9O and Benjamaster are keeping him busy for the time being, but J9O beats him to the punch and SSG answers back with a victory of their own. They have split the first half, 3 rounds, 2 more still to go, but SSG must be pretty comfortable with the way that they're playing this chalet.
And good to rein it in the 3v1. Don't have to keep swinging when it gets very favorable in that situation. Big start from Fultz, obviously, with the Nitro player. Obviously, as the world champion, Fultz gets a lot of praise. People praise him for his positioning and where he puts himself on the map. People praise him for his aim and his ability to win gunfights that few other could. They praise him for his IGLing ability to be the leader of this SSG team, as he has been for the last couple of years. Doesn't get enough praise, I think, for his throwing arm, all right? When he needs to chuck out a Nitro, he's really got some good distance on that thing. So credit to Fultz starting things off with that last round. Getting into Solar has proven to be a massive issue for OXG, and that might be part of what this TAC timeout is about. Thankfully, they won't have to play the top floor until they get to overtime, if that does come the direction of this game, but still, stuff to work out for Oxygen, and that's why they call their TAC time.
Difference between philosophies with teams when we saw that there you go. We saw in the previous matchup that the timeout was taken maybe just a bit too late. This time it will provide Oxygen a bit more breathing room to sort through some of these things. You know that the next 2 rounds you're going to be playing as attackers, but then Oxygen will be going on to the, well, if you're Oxygen, hopefully the better side. Numbers suggest it's the better side as well. A timeout this early, I think, is more focused on settling the team down than anything else, right? You get timeouts that are designed more for strategy and then more for players and their mindset, and I think that's something that you hit on that was very much worth mentioning. But again, I do miss hearing the coaches talk to the teams. It's something that I do wish would come back. I know that the teams obviously fight against it. I understand why. If I was a competitor, I'd probably fight against it too. But there's a lot that can be learned from just listening to the coaches talk to the team.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll get it back at LAN events, hopefully at least this year. SSG have been playing very SSG-style Siege. You know, they're not playing this passive. They're doing exactly what it says on the tin. They like to get aggro in these early rounds. We've seen that a couple of different times in a couple different ways, right? Sometimes it's a spawn peek, sometimes it's a Nitro, sometimes it's a rat play from Benja. I'm sure that was talked about in OXG's timeout, talking about how we can start to play against these aggressive moves that SSG like to pull out. I thought it was countered quite well by M80 the other day in that very close back and forth game. Really high level matchup that showed just what the top of NA is really capable of. I was hoping this would be a similar style of game. OXG haven't really lived up to the build just yet. They'll have an opportunity now. They've fully cleared through Office. They'll clear through Piano. This is all for free. Ashen should find a shield and shouldn't get away with any kills, but he's sticking around for a long time, Parker. He should not survive this position.
I just don't know how he's managed to fall so far under their radar. They'll drone him now, and he had an opportunity just for one. That's all he can really hit. As the Monty will be next up. He needs to get out of there alive, and there's just a bit of reluctance on the side of Adam as he missed a golden opportunity to take down Ashen. Ashen lives because of the hesitation, and I think OXG was more worried about not just Ashen, but another player from SSG who could have been hiding somewhere in the shadows. Still an early pick that favors Space Station, and things don't go according to plan for OXG.
Yeah, that's so tough. There's no way Ashen should be alive, but you said it. Hesitation just reins things in a little bit. Sen's wall will go down as it was up for a little bit. Didn't find them much value. They still haven't really gained any ground. Grixer's making some moves over on the other side of the map over towards Library as they're still trying to waste time with these Sen's walls. They might be rotating their entire push, actually. Grixer is coming over their direction and Forrest on the ground floor. It doesn't feel like they've got a good way to clear out Library, so they might just need to pivot, go towards the front door, go towards the backside of the site as well. Monty makes his way up the stairs now.
Throws those logic bombs just to get under the skin of SSG, but give very valuable intel to OXG. Benja takes down Adam before Forrest trades him right back. That's Library clear at the moment for OXG, but they're in a bit of turmoil, a bit of a pickle, some could say. Grixer will watch as Forrest drops in front of him. It's not the Monty holding on to that defuse kit. It's Yaga. Ashen now torn to strips by Grixer as there goes Yaga. Case dropped. Forrest finished off, and Grixer is all on his lonesome. Inside the lobby doing some serious damage. What remains of Ashen is found by the secondary sidearm, but Newer says, not this time. 4 rounds to be had for Space Station as they are putting on a clinic and doing what you need to do when you start as defenders on Chalet.
It was a really critical kill from J90 playing in the back bar. He had that vertical angle up into Library where he killed Yaga. As you mentioned, that was diffuse kit on the ground, top floor. Once that kit goes down, it all devolves into chaos. Of course, then we saw Forrest go down right after that too. Faults, sorry, I should say. Faults got the pickup on that player. So really good to see from SSG. Again, you kind of come back to Adam on that initial hesitation. Felt like Ashen's attention was fully being placed on Forrest at the Monty. It could have been a free swing, a big pick for Adam to equalize that man count, maybe get that opportunity to grab space on the top floor to hold control of Library, which they never really had full control over on the side of OXG. Adam then died a little bit later in that round too, not really able to have much impact in that previous round. So just feels like OXG are struggling to put things together. You know, they've got good ideas, they've got good plans, but SSG do something aggressive, as they always do, and it disrupts things just enough that OXG don't really know exactly how to respond.
5 seconds remaining.
And especially after you call your timeout as well. Like, I mean, if you're trying to do it just to if you're doing it just to settle everybody down and settle things down, then maybe you'll find some success as this match goes on. I mean, you pointed it out before we even played a single moment between these two teams. This is very likely a preview of what will happen in the playoffs. Now, there is a funny thing that tends to happen in a lot of sports and in traditional sports, and that it's the team that wins the first time does not always have that same success the second time. In fact, most teams that lose do get their revenge. That's a bit worrisome if you're SSG, but the playoffs are a very different beast, and anything can happen. Both of these teams have shown us, though, that they are evenly matched. Yes, Space Station is ahead in the standings by a single point, and their round differential does look a lot better, too. But both of these teams, on a good day, are capable of beating one another. It just really depends on the map that you're going to play on, which in a best-of-3 doesn't become as important as a best-of-1. And it also depends on whether the players are locked in. In a best-of-1, you just get a single 45 to 60 minutes to compete. That is pretty much it. If you are having a bad day, there are no other maps for you to wake up on. And we've seen lots of teams that struggle in map number 1, whether it's their map or their opponents, and are able to claw it back with maps 2 and 3 to give us one hell of a series. OXG strikes me as a team that could do that. But SSG does have a new look with Newers on the squad, so they, too, will keep us on our toes.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Tachanka on this bomb site, but Faults has some fun lineups from back inside of Piano. Won't stop him from being the opening death as Gomez finds that pick, but J90 answers with 2 back, playing inside a trophy on that Oryx, finds some massive kills in response. I do think Faults did a decent job stalling things out towards the library entrance. Felt like he was able to use some of those fire grenades well, but end of the day, didn't really find much for the top floor. That is the one area that Auction have found some success. Forrest and Yaga still holding up above. They've got still 2 more players to find. Ashen and Benja are playing inside a Master and Piano. But if they can get those picks, they can start to work a plant down into the bottom floor. That's where Forrest is going now. There's a game plan for Auction despite the man disadvantage.
Yaga's just creeping up. The only kill he's had at all in this match was when he was thrown inside a trophy on that glass. And he had a second to his tally, or dare I say even more. Ninja Master, should any smokes arise, playing that Warden will be very well suited to deal with it, and he'll be looking to break double digits. The first player in the lobby to do so, should he hit that mark. He's a single kill away. It's Ashen right now, tasked with dealing with Yaga. And 2 ships in the night, right, as they peek at completely different opportunities. That's information, though, for both of these squads. Down goes Newers in the hands of Forrest. Forrest desperate for more. He'll now attempt the plan as he's running out of time. That leaves just Adam to cover, but he's slaughtered by Ashen as it's Forrest alone. One of these players on SSG will drop. J90 does so. Forrest, a former teammate, eliminates him, and Ashen will hit the triple to secure the round. Well, you said OXG wouldn't be happy with just 2 rounds, Jesse. How much more dismayed do you think they'll be with a single round? As it's a 5-1 first half for the Astronauts.
Can't imagine they're going to be happy with that, Parker, especially when it's Ashen on the other side of things. There's almost no other player in the world you would rather be going up against and having a big game against, because Ashen loves to get in your head when he's playing well, and he's playing well in that round. Sometimes Ashen gets talked about as a guy who is all aim, no brain. I don't think that's very justified, but sometimes people say it about Ashen, right? I thought it was a really smart way that he played that last round. You know, they were in the 4v3. He had man advantage. So as he was playing top floor, what did he do? Well, he didn't swing Piano. He didn't swing inside of Master. He waited out the clock. He didn't actually take any chances with the glass until there was like 10 seconds left on the clock. And then he took it in such a way that he had the advantage. He found the early headshot to be able to find that early pickup. So I really like the way Ashen played that round. He played it so exceptionally well, both in terms of his positioning and in terms of the shots he was able to hit. We got a great replay of it now. Yeah, just waiting for the swing to come out from Yaga. Super well done. And then, of course, playing the vert perfectly too. Good chance from Forrest. He kind of got stylish with it at the end in the 1vx, but at that situation, even against your former team, there's just too much to handle.
Yeah, right now SSG is just there, a ball rolling down the hill, and no amount of obstacles were slowing them. The thing is that the hill slows down a bit, and now it becomes an incline as SSG will fight their way upwards, dealing with OXG on defense. Now, if you're a team that is able to swallow your emotions and keep your head in the game, you'll look at the fact that you are still quite a well-performing team of good players. You've got players who competed at live events. You've got lots of experience. And a lot of these players have played together before, so there is synergy to be had here, even if the addition of Adam and Grixer, and you could even argue Forrest, has changed up some of this squad. OXG needs to, if they are in their own head, get out of it, because you are now on the better side. Just shake that off. You don't have a timeout to assist you, but you can do it in game. These players have been around long enough. There's a lot of collective experience on the side of OXG here. They can easily battle back against SSG, but I do think this round will set the tempo. If SSG just rushes the bomb site and takes care of OXG, I don't know if they'll have the ability to claw back such a deficit.
SSG bum rushing the bomb site? Surely not. I don't think we'll actually get it this round, the way they position so far, but definitely get ready for it later. Faults has worked a lot of space down up through the fireplace stairs. He's got a pinch coming in from Ashen as well, trying to make this guy move so Ashen can get the pick, but it's going to be Newers instead that strikes first. Managed to find that opening pick, and here comes Ashen now. Finds just the backside. No! Shut down by Grixer. That should have been a freebie. He at least got the down onto Adam.
Depending on where Adam is, though, now he's no longer retrievable. This could have been winnable, but SSG will just continue to be pushed over by OXG. Dollop to Newers, who for a moment needs to take some time to pull the goo out of his foot, but he's so low that pretty much anybody on the side of OXG can take him down. Just as Newers was trash talking earlier and is well known for doing that, OXG will return the favor. They deny Space Station match point on a very confident defense that was admittedly aided by a very quick and very linear hit by SSG that just went in favor of Oxygen. The gap closes, but is still a yawning chasm between these two. Space Station only one round away from guaranteeing themselves a point by taking 6 of the available rounds. Now it's incumbent upon OXG again without a timeout, Jesse, to close this gap.
There's a lot of chaos over by Mezzanine in that last round, but there were a couple of big picks that happened outside the building as well. The initial one from Gomez on the bathroom window found Benja that was just standing outside of the map, not expecting that aggressive swing. And then J9 as well ended up dying before he got into the building. I believe it was Grixer that found the angle onto him to be able to find that pick. So a couple of players in SSG struggling to even get in, and then the one place where they did enter in through Library, in through Mez, well, they got really cleaned up as everybody on OXG seemingly was focused on that side of the map, was able to do a lot of chaos, a lot of damage. I like the play by Adam. I mean, he didn't really get a kill from that position over inside of Mezzanine, but was distracting and wasted a lot of time, didn't ever overswing, didn't want to do anything crazy, and got some good value for it. Failed the spawn peek this time, though.
We'll see a Finka now with the spear in hand as Benjamaster's still searching for double digits. Gomez is catching up in a hurry in terms of total kills. Benja leading the way with 9. He is the lowest rated player on Space Station, so Benja topping the charts at the moment for SSG is excellent. Ashen seemingly pleading with his team about either patience or strategy. Look at the lineup. Sens, Amaru, Finka. It's gonna be a hectic crash into the bomb site on the side of Space Station. OXG was prepared for the rush in the previous round. They have some pretty good tools on their own. Goyo canisters to slow things down, Toxic Babes in the pocket of Forest on smoke. You'll have goo mines from Yaga too. It necessitates an adrenal surge as Ashen gets picked off. He slingshots into the building. He's gone. J90 will be in the afterlife shortly thereafter. Both at the hands of Gomez, who bafflingly is now the first player to break double digits. He snuck up out of nowhere, but it's his. Gomez had some big moments so far. More of those, and SSG will start to sweat.
Yeah, massive from Gomez. And now this push really just gets stopped in its tracks. You do still have the Monty. Usually that's going to be the main spearhead. That's going to be the guy that makes space and starts the push off. But nobody inside the map. The only person who got in was Ashen, and that did not last very long. So they are really hunting for an opening, hoping somebody on OXG will make an ill-advised swing that will make a mistake to get over-aggressive. Still goo mines on the foot of fault as well. So there's plenty of utility that's going to make pushing with this Monty so awkward and so difficult. Not even really close to the bomb site. It is all the way over by Master, and they're dealing with a guy in Library Corner. So the time is just going to keep on going down.
They're throwing drones at the problem, but very quickly, OXG is taking care of 2 of them. And Yaga inside this position is so strong. Look at that. Newer's dispatched to cure him, but Grixer was there for the coverage. Now it's Fultz. 2 losses in a row and 2 devastating losses. Let's be frank, on the side of SSG, what might be the 2 worst rounds from Space Station. Would not surprise me to see Call Out calling a timeout, but maybe trust the guys and says it's not terrible just yet. Again, this was a ball that was rolling down the hill, seemingly unstoppable, but now that hill becomes an incline. They're the ones battling against the defenders. OXG are well positioned for the remainder of regulation. Can SSG troubleshoot their way out of this? Will they call a timeout? Right now, we're being told no. It looks like we're just launching right now into the next round. So notes being done by the coaching staff of OXG in the background as when SSG does call their timeout, Jesse, OXG will get a chance to talk as well. People often forget that coaching timeouts cut both ways.
Certainly, and I'm a little bit concerned about how Library has been looking so far for SSG. In both of those previous rounds, They tried to get into library. They got in the building at least a little bit, but then there was really strong crossfires from players that was over towards piano, over towards the hallway, and they were always able to get picks that didn't seem like SSG were really expecting. It felt like consistently OXG would have one guy playing around library, whether that was Yaga in the corner or Adam on top of mezzanine, and then they'd have somebody else finding a longer angle, and that other player was always able to get some good value. It's not going to get any easier. You can't ignore library when the bomb site is right below it. So this is, again, going to be a challenge that SSG will have to face. They've tried it twice now with the Monty. Didn't find much success either time. So Faltz has moved over to the ace. Got to get something else going. I like Benja on the Capitao here, too. Could start to deny some of those positions in and around library if they choose to push that side of the map. But at the moment, it's looking like they might go Master over instead.
The drone work hasn't been bad from SSG, by the way. Have you been watching how those drones have been used and the numbers that they still have available? They're getting them in and getting information off of it. It's just they're not able to drone out the entirety of the surrounding areas. That's where we see these crossfires come into play a couple times. Through those 2 rounds, OXG have done an excellent job of defending each other from the SSG hordes. See if they can isolate Gomez right now as he was looking at that library window the trophy window that had just been smoked off. He could have netted a kill if somebody vaulted in, but SSG just seems to be buying time. A very sluggish effort at the moment from Space Station, but sluggishness might just appear like that for us, but it might be them doing their due diligence to get into a very comfortable position.
Well, I mean, this is going to happen when you start your push over towards the solar side and then you decide, you know what, never mind, we need to pivot. This isn't the side of the map we actually want to push. So the first 90 seconds of this round kind of wasted as they didn't get too much over there. Now they pivot over towards solar as well. They're trying to make something happen over this side. The one thing I will say, they've created a lot of ghost pressure. They've opened up so many of these windows that OXG might not really be able to tell where SSG is pushing from. We can see from the top-down view that they are going to be going over towards the library side, maybe front door as well as Newer starts to make a move. Maybe to the basement too. There's going to be a lot of options for SSG late into this round, and OXG, they're going to have their heads on a swivel as they might not know where these pushes are coming from. It's all going to come in the last 60 seconds with 10 players still alive.
I haven't lost any drones since we started talking about that intel either, so it should be there for Space Station as Ashen takes quite a bit of damage and is followed up on by Yaga. Finally, SSG getting on the board. It's been so long since they were able to find one of these OXG players, and what a target it is. It's Gomez who's down for the count. A 4v4, but the clock will be the big adversary at the moment for Space Station as they are running out of time very quickly, Jesse. Only 25 seconds left. And OXG are very well situated to handle this push.
Again, though, do they know where this push is really coming from? Full library control, and a lot of the players on OXG aren't near the bomb site.
Well, they found Benjamaster, and if SSG trickles in one by one, which seems to be happening, this will only benefit Oxygen. Time continuing to go down. Fultz with absolutely nothing at this point in time. Miles away from the diffuser. Newers with 1, but they just simply run out of time, and you can see the frustration on the faces of SSG. OXG are doing I would argue, a better job right now at defending than what we saw out of Space Station.
Yeah, I really want to give credit for Auction, the way that they're playing quite passively on these defenses. They're not giving anything up in the early game. Again, it was over 2 minutes before the first kill went down in that round, and that's rare on Chalet, where the attackers can have so many strong angles, especially within a zombie ban, yet it didn't seem to matter. OXG weren't getting antsy. They weren't moving when they didn't have to. They offered nothing up for SSG to try to exploit. So yeah, this defensive side of Chalet, it's really starting to roll back in the way of OXG. And I mean, we get a bit of a look at Newers now. This might be the start of attack timeout after we just got through the operator bans. It was Newers who was saying not too long ago, they need me. Well, now it seems like he might need them. The comeback has been very strong from Oxygen. And yes, it will indeed prompt the attack timeout from SSG.
Doesn't really surprise me any at all. Space Station have had struggles in the past with keeping their head in the game, as people will recall. SSG do have a better record across the board, but again, with the way that NA has shaken out, it's hard to know which teams are the more competitive outside of the top 2, right? Dark Zero and Shopify Rebellion have just been so good that every other team by comparison looks quite bad when you stack them up to them, right? DZ is a perfect 7-0. We're not talking like 5 overtime wins, 2 overtime losses, etc. No, 7 regulation victories for Dark Zero, sitting at 21 points. Shopify Rebellion's only black mark on their score so far in the standings was that overtime that they beat Envy at. Envy's one of their best showings that we saw out of Envy, which is in was it week 2, if memory serves correctly, against Shopify Rebellion, where you know SR
Week
went
1,
to OT and won. Go ahead.
Week 1, I think, second game.
No, that was M80 Envy. Shopify Rebellion was game 1 of day 2.
Yes.
Where we saw the comeback from Envy, which put the potential win in regulation for Shopify Rebellion on ice. Beyond that, those two teams have dominated in every step of the way. 21 points for Dark Zero out of a possible 21. 20 points for Shopify Rebellion out of a possible 21. Then it's a drop down to M80, 15 points, right? They have 2 losses. So things become a bit less clear cut. Where do M80, Space Station, and OXG stack up, and which will be that 6th team that qualifies for the playoffs? Because right now it looks like all 4 of those teams are going to be relatively well balanced. SSG, after calling their timeout, seemingly finding their footing here, Jesse, they get the opening pick as Ashen is now back on his...
I mean, I was just talking about OXG have done a good job not giving up picks early in the round. That's not going to continue, though, for the 4th quarter. Big pickup by Ashton. I want to quickly touch on the op bans too. OXG banning the Brava is scary. Not an operator that SSG brought at all through the first 3 attacks, but it signals maybe a shift in the defense coming in from Oxygen, where they're going to be playing a lot of these electrical gadgets. We see that in this round. Yaga playing on the Ella, the Malusi, the Mute, the Wamai, all of these operators, great targets for a Brava, but not going to be possible for SSG to flex to these options. Might mean that we see some newer defenses from Oxygen in the last quarter of this game.
There's high expectations for Adam when he first made his pro debut, and he's having a bit of a rough go of it right now, playing utility roles, but fragging roles as well, or at least roles that you are able to frag in if required, and he's at the bottom of his team standings at the moment. Gomez, the next one being looked at, as there goes Yaga at the hands of a nade tossed out. Gomez is not long for this earth either. SSG are just hoping for 2 rounds. It's a 4-2 half that they need, them being the 2. Let Oxygen take 4 rounds. That's fine, Jesse. They're going to finish farther back. SSG wins 2 rounds as attackers. They win the whole shebang-a-bang, and right now they're very well positioned. A minute to go, and it's a 5v2 favoring Space Station.
Grixer needs to be a hero, and he knows that in the 2v5. The only player top floor immediately cleaned up by Ashen. No clue where he was. Now it's a 1v5 for Forrest against his former team, but he can't find anything. Benja from the vert angle will shut him down. A flawless response. After the tactical timeout, every single player on SSG working as a unit, they got those opening picks. Ashen then landed a nade to get a second frag. They continued to clear through that top floor, eventually then looking southwards through the floorboards. Beautifully done by Space Station. And I think that might have been a little bit on OXG as well, getting a bit more active, getting a bit more aggressive. I thought maybe with that Brava ban, they could play behind their utility, but they died to a lot of players that were just outside the building. And it doesn't matter if you've got a million Banshees and a million Ella Mines, they're not going to be outside the building. Those aren't going to have any effect if you're dying to players on windows or outside the map, just as OXG were. So I'm hoping they take that round as a learning experience for these next 2, rein things in a little bit, play like you were through the first 3, because that was not the response that you wanted. SSG looked really good in that round.
No, certainly. SSG has looked, I don't want to say bad, because these are top tier players. They don't look bad. Even when they're not at their best, they're still better than most, and they're still competing at a high level, but SSG were playing OXG's game. They looked like they had very limited agency those first 2 rounds, and because of that, OXG bodied them. It was a flawless round, won in the 2nd round of this second half. Now, SSG has turned the tables, and SSG is, like OXG often is, a momentum-based team. If SSG can get the ball rolling yet again, even if it is rolling it uphill, that's still rolling, baby. That's still moving, and look at that. Yaga, I'm not sure if he was just repositioning up there, but Benja gets his 10th kill, and SSG has quite a big lead with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go.
And is that going to spiral like it did last time? I mean, it was an outside pick really early on from Ashen that started round number 10. Now in round 11, they do the exact same start. They clear Yaga, who I think was still just setting up those ADSs. I think he got them all down, but that's still an important player that you wanted to have up late in the round if you're Oxygen. Again, does it become the situation where somebody needs to be a hero? Adam might feel that way playing inside a Fireplace, 2-8. Not a great game so far from him. The entry point could be the basement on the side of SSG, although as they set up Claymores, I think they just want to be safe as they get onto that solar rappel. Answer back from Grixer. That's an important one. If somebody's got to be a hero, it's often Grixer who's going to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you need to keep these numbers close. Grixer pays quite a heavy price for that as he loses most of his HP, and he's just a gun and a single nade now left. But as we saw from Gomez when he was on a single point of HP, you don't need much to keep things close, and you don't need much to kill your opponents. SSG now still out on Repel. Fultz holding on to that diffuser on Sens. Despite the walloping that OXG's been giving them on the second half, look at the deaths on the side of Space Station. Yeah, Ashen's leading the way with 8. That's pretty normal. But Fultz only dying 5 times, same with J90 and Newers, is really quite incredible given that we are 10 rounds in. It shows the dominance that SSG had when they were winning their rounds on the first half. They're in a very precarious position right now as they'll need to go for the rappel. Gomez is sitting there watching it as the Warden, as the smokes and the flames linger. Bombset is downstairs. All this attention paid from above, and Fultz just might have found his opportunities. Now he wanders on in. Down goes Grixer. Fultz taking some damage. Worried about playing from above. It's the Warden. Fultz wins the duel. He could go for yet another as Newers cleans out Forest. And it's all on the shoulders of Adam. 2 kills so far through this match. 4 players remaining from SSG. And an opportunity for Adam to be a hero in this round. A vault in, J90 dies at Adam's hands, and he immediately pivots to look over towards bathroom. He knows the Capitao of Benja's nearby. Fultz getting the plant down. Adam trying his damnedest, but Benja secures the final kill, and Space Station survive a bit of a scare. They win 2 rounds in a row, and that's enough to close this one out in regulation, securing SSG all 3 points.
Much better clock management from Space Station, aware of what the timer was at. They managed to move to that bottom floor. Didn't get caught up on the fact they couldn't find Pick's top floor, right? They were spending a lot of time on Rappel. They didn't let that stop them. They eventually said, screw it, we got to go find the site. Falls to just that beautiful vertical shot, and then the Dane out-duels Adam at the very end of it. Perfectly played.
SSG showing why they entered the day in 4th place and why they've got such a good round differential that will only continue to grow. And with those 3 points, they'll vault over M80 for 3rd place. Again, playoff implications for all of these matches, and it's entirely possible we see OXG and SSG crack some skulls together in our playoffs coming up next week. We've got 3 more matches for you, and M80, who just lost 3rd place, will be in the final game of the day, so there's tons of time for them to sit and wait and watch what happens with the standings. C9 and Cruelty are up next, but first, as we did after our very first match, a break. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
SSG prevail over OXG on Chalet, and a little bit of a playoff preview matchup as we look ahead to the playoffs to see exactly what we're going to expect from these two. For now, though, we'll welcome in Newers as this SSG victory is secured. Mr. Newers, prevailing against your former team. How does that feel?
I mean, just a win's a win, but I love those guys, and they played a pretty good game. They almost came back on us, so.
Right, well, let's take a look at, I guess, your stage as a whole since joining SSG. I mean, obviously you just played OXG, so a good comparison would be, what has it been like getting yourself situated with SSG as opposed to the previous stage run that you had with OXG?
I mean, like, I love this team just because of the environment and, like, the discipline I have to do every day just makes me, like, a better person overall. So I'd say, like, this stage has been, like, just me, like, growing up in a sense. So,
have you put your own bed sheets on the bed yet?
Yeah, I do. And I do make food, dishes.
I was about to say, he probably goes to bed early. No more,
I
no
do,
more
yeah,
2 a.m.,
usually.
3 a.m.
I like to see that.
I definitely want to follow up Fox's question. Obviously, you're finding your footing here now on SSG. You're liking how everything's been going. I kind of want to ask you, I mean, how does it feel to then now make playoffs, whereas obviously back on Oxygen, you guys were struggling to even get to playoffs, struggling to find success during the stage. Now you're finding that success. Now you're in playoffs. Again, from a personal point, how does that feel for you?
I mean, it's nice. I have a great team. Everyone on my team is just great players overall. We have a great fundamental. We have great staff, great everything. And I mean, on OXG too, like, they're all great players as well, but like here it's just more like a in sync, coordinated, just like environment, and I'm in love with it. So,
Well, I mean, my final question is just, who do you think won the trade-off? You know, they got Forrest, SSG got you.
I can't answer that. Sorry.
Wow, you really have changed.
Can't do that. Sorry.
Wow. What are we going to see
It was
next?
a good one though. You almost got me.
No more trash talk in the game? Is that where this is headed?
It stays in the game, doesn't continue out of the game.
All right.
He's growing up.
I like it. He's growing up. Newers, congrats on the win. We'll see you down the lineup. Playoffs ahead.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right. Thanks, Newers. Nice and brief, but good to see him growing up a little bit. I know you guys knew him quite well. Is
When I first met Newers, the first day he showed up at the team house, we made a couple exchanges with one another, but totally different personality from what it was back on Oxygen, from where it is on SSG. But I think it goes without saying, everybody within this league knows how SSG and their brotherhood just goes. I mean, that entire SSG boot camp is pretty intense.
And it does change a bit these players' focus.
Yeah.
We've seen that over time, Fox.
Yeah, mentality for SSG, I mean, you can see it in-game and out of game. The discipline that they practice in-game, because when you play this hyper-aggressive play style that SSG always brings to the table, you have to be coordinated. You have to be disciplined because, yes, you're going fast, but in the snap of a fingers, you have to be able to stop it, slow it down, coordinate it with your team. So there's a lot of ups and downs to this play style. It's very hit or miss, essentially. And so you need to have that discipline to be able to make something like that work. They also preach that outside of the server, or outside of the server. And essentially you could see it. Newer's personality, not only in-game has he been thriving and having that confidence that SSG wanted him for, some type of confidence that you could say may have some affected him with OXG where the confidence was lacking, but with SSG has been confident all the way through since picking up. And obviously, you know, the better his outside of life habits are, the better inside game will be.
And I think finally, of course, we talked about OXG and their innovative attacks yesterday. Of course, not what we saw from them now, but there is something to be said about Chalet not wanting to show too much going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're in a good spot. Obviously, ending on Chalet to try to right their wrongs, see if maybe they can pull it out in a best of 3. I think given their performance, sure, it wasn't the worst performance by any means, but I think just given how different it was from the other, I would still not recommend Oxygen bring this into a best of 3. I think you just completely eliminate it from your pool, maybe work on another map in the meantime, because realistically, I don't believe you are going to try to fix all of Chalet going into playoffs and risk that chance.
I think the biggest struggle for OXG looking ahead for playoffs would be just identifying a clear entry, because I feel like we see so many times they're bouncing off, and it really affects the type of maps that they can play. Maps like Border, maps like Chalet, it's really hard to find success on those maps when you just don't have one specific spearhead. So they're still bouncing around with the idea of who's going to be that entry focused player. I mean, you could look at Gomez to be that entry or Force on the shields, but if there's no shields or if somebody else needs to do it besides Gomez, then who will be that response?
Well, a nice palate cleanser before we get into back-to-back-to-back matches that are going to be pretty big deal. The next one, Cloud9 against Cruelty. It is very simple. You lose, you go home. Both teams need a regulation win if they want to have any chance at making the playoffs next week. We'll have that and so much more coming up next.